Look at that. We're not even out of chapter 1, and some of the stalwarts are dropping by like flies. Here we go. Hey, everybody. Good evening. It is June 4th, 2024. We're on episode, could be 20, could be 21. I'm not sure, but I think it could be 19. We're on some episode, and we're on page 36 of the Blue Book. And it says, inquiring minds want to know the source of economic power as manifested by the achievements of the men in the field of business. Let's study the case of the Chicago group known as the Big Six, consisting of William Wrigley Jr., who owns the chewing gum business bearing his name and whose individual income is said to be more than $15 million a year. John R. Thompson, who operates a chain of lunchrooms bearing his name, Mr. Lasker, who owns the Lord and Thomas Advertising Agency, and Mr. McCullough, who owns the Parmalee Express Company, the largest transfer business in America. And you don't know any of these names. And Mr. Ritchie and Mr. Hertz, who own the yellow taxi cab. You know where Mr. Hertz came in then, right? You know him for what? Rental cars. Did you know that the white powder on chewing gum is marble dust? Did you know that? The white powder on chewing gum is marble dust, so it doesn't absorb any moisture. Marble doesn't absorb any moisture. It's marble dust, so you're eating stone. Congratulations, now you know. A reliable financial reporting company has estimated that the yearly income of these six men is upwards of $25 million on average, more than $4 million a year per man. Analysis of the group of six discloses the fact that not one of them had any special educational advantages and that all began without capital or extensive credit, that their financial achievement has been due to their own individual plans and not to any fortunate turn of the wheel of chance. Pretty cool, huh? Pay attention to that. This is important. Many years ago, the six formed a friendly alliance. Have you formed your friendly alliance yet? A friendly alliance, meeting at stated periods for purpose of assisting one another with ideas, suggestions, and various and sundry lines of business endeavor. One of the things that Dorothea Brand in her book, Wake Up and Live, says, the reason we put so much energy into failure, we really put energy into failure, is because there's a promise that we make, an unspoken promise. And the unspoken promise is that if I don't mention your lack of function and capability and capacity, you will promise not to mention mine to me. It's only till later on in life, right? They used to say that the average age of a millionaire was over 55 years old. Why? What happens when we get to 55 and plus? We really don't care a whole lot about what people think. So that's why it would be important to have these meetings of alignment and alliance. With the exception of Hertz and Ritchie, none of the six men were in any manner associated in a legal partnership. These meetings were strictly for the purpose of cooperating on the give and take basis of assisting one another with ideas and suggestions, and occasionally by endorsing notes and other securities to assist some member of the group who had met with an emergency, making such help necessary. So inside their own little community, they found a way to be able to serve each other, to give notes, loan money, do different things. People do business with who? People they know, they like, they trust. It is said that each of the individuals belongs to the big six group of millionaires many times over. As a rule, there is nothing worthy of special comment on behalf of the men who does nothing more than accumulate a few $1 million. As a rule, there is nothing worthy of special comment on behalf of a man who does nothing more than accumulate a few $1 million. However, there is something connected with the financial success of this particular group of men that is well worth comment, study, analysis, and even emulation, And that something is the fact that they have learned to coordinate their individual minds by blending them in the spirit of perfect harmony, thereby creating a mastermind that unlocks the individuals of the group, unlocks to each of the individual of the group doors which are closed to most of the human race. Now, are they saying because they're rich, it unlocks the doors? Didn't they have to unlock the doors before they got rich? Would you say that the 5 of us could push a car out easier than the 1 of us? That's what this is talking about. That's what this is talking about. This is pushing out the car of the 5 of us versus the 1 of us. Right? So understanding that, that's why this alliance working in perfect harmony. Right? When we look at titles or descriptions of people's past, you know, Heather and Amber may have a similar understanding. They can speak the same nomenclature. Well, if we were all going to get into the wellness world, that'd be great. Now, if I was Heather's next door neighbor, she might not be too excited that I'm getting into the wellness world, which is a whole nother reason why network marketing is such a powerful communication possibility. But for sake and purposes, all of these guys were in different businesses. It's like a BNI, Business Network International. You can only have one of a kind inside the thing. The challenge is that many people in BNI, Business Networking Internationally, everybody's trying to come to sell something. So think about this week creating an alliance. Finding somebody, finding a group of people, a handful of people, right? How many does it take to create a mastermind? 2? Right? What's the song? A man shall leave his mother and a woman leave her home. They shall travel on to where the 2 shall be one. There is love. Anyway, so there's that. My brother asked me to sing that at his wedding, the day of the wedding. I'm like, really? Seriously? Their singer had something happened. Anyways, squirrel. It is said that the individuals belong to the big 6. Okay, something is the fact that they have learned to coordinate their individual minds by blending in a spirit of perfect harmony, thereby creating a mastermind that unlocks to each individual of the group doors which are closed to most of the human race. Didn't say to most people in Chicago. The United States Steel Corporation, one of the strongest and most powerful industrial organizations in the world, the idea out of which this great industrial giant grew was born in the mind of Albert H. Gray, a more or less commonplace small-town lawyer who was born in and reared in the small Illinois town near Chicago. Mr. Gary surrounded himself with a group of men whose minds he successfully blended. Definition of a leader: blend the minds of those around you. Blended the mind in perfect harmony, thereby creating a mastermind, which is the moving spirit of the great United States Steel Corporation, one of the largest corporations to exist. Search where you will, wherever you find an outstanding success in business, finance, industry of any of the professions, you may be sure that the back of this success is some individual who applied the principle of mind chemistry, out of which a mastermind has been created. Mind chemistry, different than mastermind. These outstanding successes often appear to be the handiwork of but one person. These outstanding successes often appear to be the handiwork of but one person. But search closely, and the other individuals whose minds have been coordinated with his own may be found. Remember that 2 or more persons may operate the principle of mind chemistry so as to create the mastermind. Power, manpower, is organized knowledge expressed through intelligent effort. Power, organized knowledge expressed through intelligent efforts. Questions, comments, thoughts? Let me date this. We're moving on, but just checking. I'm going to say we're at June 4 start. Y'all good? Okay. No effort can be said to be organized unless the individuals engaged in the effort coordinate their knowledge and their energy in the spirit of perfect harmony. Okay, this is where network marketing falls apart. This is where the corporate versus the field falls apart. This is where leader versus their teams fall apart. This is where leader and leader in the same organization fall apart. Let me share an opinion. Opinions are like eyebrows. Everybody's got a couple, right? Okay, well, what do you say? No effort can be said to be organized unless the individuals engaged in the effort coordinate their knowledge and energy in a spirit of perfect harmony. The reason I believe that that's one of the biggest pitfalls for just about any organization is that the individuals engaged coordinate their knowledge. Most people, when they get into an organization, what happens? What's the first thing they say? You've heard this in your business. You've heard this when somebody came on as a client. You've heard this when most people say when they start in the business or they start as a distributor or they start anything new, they say what? I don't know what I'm doing. Don't they? I've never done this before. I'm new to this. And it's true, they're new to it. But how do we make it so that they're not new to this? You follow me? How do we make it so they're not new to this? What do we have to remind them? How do we Wayne Dyer it, change the way we look at things so the things we look at change? Anybody got an idea, suggestion? Don't we want to talk about their why? Don't we want to find the thing, right? So I was at the ANMP this weekend and a woman says, I don't know. This is my first event. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm new. Do you have a team? No, I don't have a team. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just learning. Whoa. Back up the truck. Dude. I said, what are you doing this for? What's the big reason to do this for? Well, I don't know. I don't know. I'm here. I want to learn. Long story short, we found out she's got grandbabies she wants to take care of. I said, so did you come to the ANMP to learn how to be a better grandmother? No, but that's what you're saying. No, I'm not. I'm saying I want to learn how to be business. No, you're saying you want to learn business so you can be a better grandmother. But wait, no, that's not. Yeah, that's what you're saying. Now, can you be a better grandmother and say, I'm going to be a better grandmother? I came here to be a better grandmother, but I know how to do that. And what do I need to become a better grandmother? You only need two things: time and money. So can you listen to the 50 speakers who are going to talk to figure out how to maximize your time and maximize your money? She said, yeah. I said, so then you're not new at this at all, are you? Do you see what happens when we change the way they look at things so the things they look at change? None of you are a failure. None of you lack success. What you fail to remember is how successful you are. How many times did you say your dreams today? Okay, so 2 times is good, 20 times is better. Did you have space to say them again, but didn't? If you look back over the course of your day, were there things that were less valuable than stating your dreams? Could you have stated your dreams more often? Jim Rohn would say that's a clue. Do you think there's going to be time tomorrow where you could state your dreams? Do you think there's time tomorrow where you could bullet point your dreams, that you say a couple of words? Okay, house, car, clients, zero debt, and that plays out all your definite major purpose? If you are not consumed, right? What does it say? A white, hot, burning heat of desire. If you're not consumed by your passion, your mission, your vision, something else is eating you. Oh, there's the big breath. It's okay. It's okay. Guess what? You got time tonight. Do you think you could say it 2 more times tonight? If you could say it 2 more times tonight, guess what you did? You just doubled your efficiency. You doubled your harmony. When's the last time you doubled your harmony? And you knew it. It doesn't have to be big things. It's only, it needs to be, Jim Rohn said, a handful of things done consistently will help you win. A hand things avoided on a regular basis will cause you to fail. So what this says, what I hear when I read this, no effort can be said to be organized. I don't know what my team's doing. I don't know why things are going. I'm not sure what's going on. Unless the individuals engaged in the effort coordinate their knowledge. Doesn't mean the knowledge of where they're going, because they may not know that. Their knowledge of who they are as an individual. Heather was kind enough to say she did it twice. She has knowledge of doing it. If you said your goals today, do you have knowledge of doing it? Can you coordinate your knowledge to do it more for you? And an energy of spirit and imperfect harmony. If you've ever been witness to a miracle, any of you ever witnessed a miracle? The result of a miracle, right? If you've witnessed a miracle, then guess what? Your prayer was different than something else. We may have been praying the same thing, but the way you pray it and I pray it, this is Wallace D. Wattles. It's not about doing certain things. It's about doing things in a certain way. And I pray my way, you pray your way. You're all part of a miracle. And soon as we undo, we chippy away everything not us, we personally undevelop all of the things that have been stacked on us, we wind up elevating at such a level, we're like, where was all of this stuff where was all this stuff? Questions, comments, thoughts before we move on? Takeaways, feedback on this topic, on the idea of coordinating your efforts along with others.
What you just said, though, Sean, sounded a little like you could coordinate with just yourself. And somebody's knocking on my door, so never mind. Life's been fascinating.
I love
it. I guess you better move on because Sherry's being occupied.
All right, no worries. We'll do it. We'll come back. Who else? Thoughts, comments, questions?
Hi, Sean.
Hi, Diane.
Well, the evidence today that I got was, the mastermind group, the five of us, now 6, that formed our group. It was approved and we're an official group. So I got that back today.
I love it.
And I had a Rotary today, and I took a friend that she was inducted as the chair of the Chamber of Commerce here in Halifax. And so she was telling me about some of the frustrations that she has with this group that she's working with. And it's the people in the power that have these limiting beliefs that don't think that she knows where they come from and all those things. And so we had a discussion about ANMP, and I said, oh my goodness, I said, it was such an amazing weekend because people were from different cultures, different communities, different companies, but we all gelled. And it was all about building relationships and believing that we are worthy. And she said, but you should come and talk to these people. And I said, no, well, it's recognizing that, some people you can't change their minds, right? And she's done a lot of work and research to present to them. And she said, I just felt so deflated because they didn't accept anything that we spent 6 months putting together all these things. It's a big organization. And as well, that's why, the organization has issues, is because the people at the head have limiting beliefs. So how do you work with that too?
So, people do things for their reasons, not ours.
Right.
And the biggest thing that causes people to disengage is recognition. Carnegie, right? Rule number 1, most beautiful sound, their name, most important topic, them.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of 6 months of work, if I were to ask them what is their goal, the person who was doing the presentation, I would have asked them, what's their 6 months goal? What's their long-term goal? What do they want? What's the thing they want in 12 months? Go ahead.
Yeah, they did ask that. Like when they met with them at first, they said, okay, if we're going to do this work for you, what is it that you want at the end of this? So they kind of got an idea of what they wanted, but they went to present it, and it's like these guys didn't even want to listen to what they had to present.
So let's take delusional thinking out. Let's just look at the facts. So you've come to me with a box of things.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to forensically give it an analysis. I'm going to analyze it. There's this dead presentation that all I can tell you is that the reason they didn't move forward is because they didn't deliver on what they wanted.
But it was old stuff, and that's what.
End of story. We can discuss it, but what I'm saying first is we have to agree that if in 6 months their wants changed and they didn't adapt the presentation for it, they shouldn't have moved forward. Did they present to a 6-month-old story, or were they remember? So what's the 3 things we need to do? What business are you in? What business are you really in? Here's the perfect example. What business do you need to be in 6 months?
Okay.
So now we can say, well, we delivered exactly what they asked for. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Now you can look at the scoreboard and go, they asked for apple pie and you delivered apple pie. The challenge is that if I show up with apple pie, if you wanted to bring apple pie to your party, and I show up with the apple pie and say, here's my apple pie, what are you going to say? Nobody wants apple pie because you wanted to be the one who brought the apple pie. So they may have presented it in such a way that made them a hero instead of them the hero. My daddy said any job can get done if it doesn't matter who gets the credit, and whoever was doing the presentation wanted to get the credit.
Okay.
Sucks. I get it. It's horrible. But this is human nature 505. This is a master class, and they didn't pay attention to it. They were delivering a strategy, not a state.
Well, they wanted them to look at innovation and to move their company forward. So that's what they did. But the old guys wanted the old way. They don't want to.
But here's the thing. Did they ask him to define innovation? Did they ask him to define what moving forward looks like?
They did, because it's the technology part of their company.
Okay, so then the next question is who's going to be the one to implement the technology, since you guys don't seem like you're the social media savvy kind of tech people?
Well, they did have people that they can suggest that they do those trainings for them.
Okay, and the problem so here's the thing. Here's what my dad taught me.
Okay.
So Diane, if I'm presenting to you and I'm presenting to you this book, right? Peptide immunotherapy. It's a barn burner. If I bring you and you're like, oh, I want that book. I want that book. And I'd say all of a sudden you're getting ready to buy the book. And all of a sudden you say, no, I'm not buying the book. My daddy taught me this. Diane, if you buy this book, the people you buy the books from previously aren't going to be able to sell you any more books, are they? What's the story you're going to tell them when they say, why don't you buy from me anymore?
I got something new.
And you've known this. Listen, so when I started doing water blasting and industrial sales and all of that stuff, I either had competition or had to create a new market. And if I had competition, I'd sit down and I'd say, hey, Diane, listen, you're going to buy this mechanical seal. You know, the guy who sells you packing, your buddy that you go fishing with, the buddy you're going fishing with this weekend, what are you going to tell him when you no longer buy product from him? Because you can't buy my product and his product. So first of all, which product are you going to buy? Well, yours. Yours saves the company money and it makes me look like a hero. Great. So rather than looking like a jackrabbit to this other guy, what's the new story? And I would have to then my sales was creating the story they would tell the competitor why they can't buy anymore.
Okay.
Richard, come home. Do you have knives in the house?
Yeah.
Right? You got knives. Do you have Cutco knives?
What are those? I don't know.
Okay, so Cutco knives, it's a network marketing brand, lifetime warranty. Mason got a call because he was looking for online work, and so he was going to set appointments, and you get $25 to set an appointment, and somebody goes out and makes a call. Long story short, Cutco knives are amazing. They're probably one of the best knives out there. Lifetime warranty, sharpen it forever. One of those big blocks, like a big block with the big knife, like 15, 20 knives in it, is $1,000. You see it, you see the demo, you love it. You're like, oh my gosh, you know how much time this would save me? I never have to do it. If I break a knife, I never have to buy another knife. I could have this for the next 20 years. This is amazing. Would you buy it?
If I can afford it. Like we
Okay,
have which is knives from here, and I've had them for.
So guess what? You just gave the solution, the reason why they couldn't buy it. They couldn't afford it. They couldn't afford the story. They couldn't afford they didn't have the ability to sell the new story of the new content. Now, if I was a salesman, I go, well, don't you wear the pants in the family? Doesn't Richard just listen to what you want to say? Or do you have to talk to him? Should I talk to him? Right. That's the pushy salesman. Right. But that's $1,000. It's a big thing. But would you have to sell him on the idea if the box came home? You said, I can afford this, but he'd be like, what's all these knives? Wouldn't you say these are good knives? They're awesome. I love them. They're good. They're great. They're this. They make me happy. How many times have you bought some? Well, it makes me happy. Okay, well, go be happy. Right? So the reason that the people didn't buy whatever the 6 months of work of presentation was, is they didn't have the story after the purchase. They didn't have the story after the transition. That's it. That's the only reason. They had to sell it to somebody. Well, it's the whole board in charge. I get it, but they still had to sell it to somebody. Everybody's got to sell something to somebody.
Yeah. It was really sad because only one person showed up and there's 5 on the board.
Jim Rohn say that's a clue.
They didn't want it. They didn't want to hear what they had to say, which was really, yeah.
So I kind of say a shame on the people who were doing the presentation because they couldn't get them to confirm to show up. They didn't get them excited to show up.
Well, no, they were confirmed, but then only one person.
You're being delusional thinking.
Okay.
The results are the results. You're trying to sell a story. This is where we get in trouble. Yes, they confirmed. No, they didn't. They didn't show up. That was not a confirmation. That was one of the, right? What's one of the 3 yeses? That was a counterfeit yes.
Yeah.
Was it counterfeit? Yes. And you took it as a yes. They took it as a yes. Well, they said they'd be there. No, they lied.
I did, yeah. I get you.
You follow me? So,
I've-
okay.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so then you got to ask the question. So why would you show up on the 3rd or whatever day the meeting was? Nobody confirmed it. You didn't confirm it. You got a counterfeit yes. That's not a confirmation.
Yeah.
And this is a great lesson.
Mhm.
Listen, all of us have driven 5 hours to go to somebody's house and they no-showed it.
Mhm.
No-showed their own house for a meeting. That's when I learned, hey, listen, I'm coming to your house. Why would you be there? What do you mean? You're coming to do a presentation. I know, but why would you be at your house? Why would you want me at your house? I'm driving 5 hours. You're going to wait 5 hours for me to get there. Why would you want me to come? Let's do this. If it's so valuable to you, you drive the 5 hours. You'll get real quick.
Good point. Thank you.
You're welcome. And the key is to especially if it's a 6-month project, that's got to be disheartening. That's got to be absolutely frustrating beyond belief. But shame on you, 6 months. Shame on whoever did the presentation to not check in. Lots can change in 6 months. Don't be surprised they have a similar technology that somebody came to them the other day with, and it's a friend of a friend. People do business with who? People they know, they like, they trust. It's aggravating, but I'm doing the forensic analysis. I'm doing the mental toughness. The results are they presented no sale. Let's go diagnose why no sale. No purchase. Why no purchase? Not a good enough story. That's it. Anybody ever been proposed to? It was a good enough story. Anybody ever had a divorce? Good enough story. Listen, get out of delusional thinking. The delusional is they did this and no, the story is not good enough, period. And if the story's not good enough, the strategy can't be good and the state isn't there. Ouch. It's just a reality. And when we get very clear on that, we can move through the process.
So it all goes back to state.
Always. It can't go anyplace else. It can't. It's always state. How many of us ever got taken a little bit for cash because the thing didn't work out the way it was supposed to? Because we had a state, we felt this is going to be so good. We had a story that made us feel good, so good that we were blinded to the reality of it. I think this is going to work the way it works. Questions, comments on that? Diane kind of gave us a master class. Questions, comments? Okay. We'll do a couple more paragraphs here and then wrap up this session. No effort can be said to be organized unless the individuals engaged in the effort.
Ron,
Yes.
I'm sorry, this is Vicky.
Vicky.
Hi, everybody. Aloha. I want to anchor something because I think it fits.
Okay.
And this is what my mind was coming up with.
Okay.
I had a fascinating experience with Diane today. And we had a conversation. And number one, I had an image of what she was going to be like, and she wasn't at all like that. And I said, oh, that's interesting information that you're coming in with a bias that apparently isn't accurate. And I started saying, okay, what's happening here? And it was a fascinating session. And in the end, I said to her, I said, what did you gain from this? And she said, I'm practicing and I'm learning to listen differently. And all I know was that intention that she had, without my even knowing it, created a whole different experience and a sense of being really, really heard, whatever it was. And that there was a total shift in her and in me because of that. That was a marvelous sense of, we think we have the reality, and at times it's so different. And so that's why it's good to look at what's the gift, what's the gift, what's the gift, which is what I'm doing now. And I don't know if what I'm making sense, but it was very powerful to see a fresh approach, feeling really heard, so that this was the point that I really wanted to make. So I shared things with her that I've never shared with anyone else. I mean, no one else. That was because there was the receptivity in the state of Diane. That was the way I would have described it. And when I got off and I said, wow, what a powerful, powerful learn. And what listening, really listening, if you say nothing, you're saying a lot and you're moving people along their path. At least that was my experience. Is this fit with what you're showing and sharing? Am I on target here?
Yeah, because it's the coordinated effort. So in order for things to be work in harmony, there needs to be a coordinated effort. It doesn't mean that everybody's got to be talking at the same time or doing the same thing. The coordinated effort is the ability to elevate oneself. And if in speaking, you were able to let go of some stuff, right? Say things you've never said before, hear things you've never heard before, right? Because that's the important thing about speaking, is that we hear it for the first time as well.
Right.
So
Right.
in that, it was a coordinated effort. And Diane, I'm sure, was listening with the intent to respond, not to. Most people are listening. I can't wait till they're listening for the quiet so that they can start talking.
Right.
And that's not listening.
Right. Right.
Yep.
No, it was an experience of being listened to on a different level.
Yep.
Which I get with you.
I love it.
But
well,
very
and here's what makes that different, is that there is an energetic frequency in male and female, and there's an energetic frequency in the desire for service and to be served. So a couple of things that make it different is that you have worked to allow yourself to be served, where you weren't allowing yourself in the past to be served, which is why we don't show up for things. Well, that's crazy, or this, that, or the other. I'm not getting there, or this, that, or the other, because we don't want to be served. So in that dialogue with Diane was there to serve. Diane was there to learn. In you sharing and doing all that you did, giving her a chance to listen, you served Diane. Even if she didn't say anything, you served her because she was able to keep her tongue quiet, and be able to pay attention and be present enough to hear, so that she could respond instead of react. So every time we have a dialogue, it elevates. And it elevates because it's kind of like reading the book a second time. If you read a book a second time and it's different, it's not because the book is different, it's because you're different. So all of the things that you say you received is because that you gave, that you received, that you felt, is because you allowed yourself to feel that. And that's huge.
I hear that. Wow. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. And that also answered my question. Thank you about yourself
and
what you were saying.
The key is, Sharon, is that yes, sometimes we can coordinate with ourselves. Why? Because we have 1,000 voices in our head. Right. And in the 1,000 voices, if we could, sometimes we have to coordinate, we have to corral ourselves first so we can slow down all of the voices so that we can have a dialogue, so that we can actually say, okay, okay, we're not running a 17 theater circus.
Unless we are.
So love it, love it, love it.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's see here. An interesting experiment was conducted by the author in collaboration with the students of a well-known college. Each student was this is cool. Each student was requested to write an essay on how and why Henry Ford became wealthy. Each student was required to describe, as part of his or her essay, what was believed to be the nature of Ford's real assets and what these assets consisted of in detail. The majority of the students gathered financial statements and inventories of the Ford assets and used these as the basis for their estimates of Ford's wealth. Included in these, quote, sources of Ford's wealth, unquote, were such as cash in banks, raw and finished materials in stock, real estate and buildings, goodwill, estimated at from 10 to 25% of the value of the material assets. One student out of the entire group of several hundred answered as follows. Henry Ford's assets consists of two main items, vis-a-vis working capital and raw and finished materials. 2, the knowledge gained from experience of Henry Ford himself and the cooperation of a well-trained organization which understands how to apply this knowledge to the best advantage from the Ford viewpoint. It is impossible to estimate with anything approximating correctness the actual dollars and cents value of either of these two groups, but in my opinion, that their relative values are the organized knowledge of the Ford organization, 75% of the value of Ford's estate, the value of cash and physical assets of every nature, including raw and finished materials, 25%. So of all of the vastness, the millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars of assets, properties, real estate, land, all of that stuff, was 25%. This student said 25% of the total value of the Ford's total assets. The other 75% was made up of the organized knowledge of the Ford organization. Would it be fair to say that if you plan on making $100,000 or $200,000 or $1 million over the course of the next 5-6 years or 10 years from your business, wouldn't it be fair to say that you probably don't need or have near that much in physical assets, nor will you need to have that much in physical assets? So what's the relative value of your current estate? Probably very similar. 75% is your organized knowledge, and the other 25% is the physical assets. And as soon as you've realized the value of your organized knowledge, you will start to act differently. You will start to produce state-like results versus strategy. So let's do this. Strategy, story, and state. Out of 100% of what makes you wealthy, which one of those, what would be the percentages? Think about it. And then think where you focus. Let's just say it's 50-50, 50% state, and then whatever, 25 and 25, strategy and story.
I said 80-10-10.
Yeah. And maybe it's 80-15-5. Right? Strategy is only 5%. The Pareto principle says 80% of what you do produces 20% of what you do. There's 20% of the things that you do produce 80% of your income. So what changes when all of a sudden you realize that let's say it's 80-10-10. where would you spend your time? You want to make it real cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs? You ready? How much of an atom is made up of stuff?
Less than 1%.
Yeah. 1 to 2%. And the rest of it is what? Energy. So where are you spending your time? You're spending your time trying to get the 1 to 2% to work. Which means somebody else is controlling the other 98%. Unless you control it. So if I control the other 98%, can I have influence? Do you think I'll have more influence over the 1 to 2% of stuff? So why talk about stuff at all? Why not talk about state? Why not use strategy to get you into state? Say your mantra. How many more times tonight could you now say your state so that your strategy so that you can get into state? Can you say the perfect strategy in a way that it doesn't work? We have just spent 20 hours. Listen,
To 9 minutes ago.
hours. We've spent 20 hours and we're to page 36, 39, 38. 20 hours. I mean, I'm a slow reader, but come on. And this is where we've got 500 pages to go. Do you think the rest of the pages they because we went into molecules in the periodic table? Do you think the rest of it might go a little bit quicker, but there's such a foundational desire to explain the foundation of all success? You ain't asking us how. Listen, I don't know. Maybe they would tell you how to run an algorithm. I don't know if algorithms existed back then. I don't know that it would make it in the book yet.
I have this little paragraph in blue in the
Yep.
book that I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And just before you talked about one of the students in the entire group, how they did their experiment and their 2 items that they came up with. It
Mhm.
says, you cannot become a power in your community nor achieve enduring success in any worthy undertaking until you become big enough to blame yourself for your own mistakes and reverses.
Dun, dun, dun. So wouldn't that be the paragraph that the people who made the presentation should read? Listen, it sucks. I get it. But they're going to repeat it if they don't read that paragraph. And I bet it's not the first time they've had something collapse on them like that. Listen, it's easy to be the armchair quarterback, the Monday morning quarterback, but I'm looking at the results, and the results say, here's what happened. No finger pointing. The results are you went presented something. They said, no, your presentation didn't work. We gave them what you wanted. No, you didn't. They would have bought. But they asked for this. No, you asked them questions and you delivered what you thought they said. How many times have we answered a question and we go, beef burgundy. What did you ask? Yeah, so there's this Italian asks for his house to be built. And he's talking to the contractor, and the contractor says, so what do you want? He says, I want to, when you walk in, he says, I wanted, when you walk into the house, he says, I wanted a window that was the biggest staircases. It goes up to the left and up to the right. He says, I wanted this a beautiful staircase. I want it with the handrail and the wood. I want it so beautiful. I want it with the carpet and the little brass bars that hold the carpet down. You know what I'm talking about? And I wanted the tile in the middle. I wanted this big rounded table so I can put a huge flowers on the top of it. And at the bottom of the staircase, I want a hello statue. Guy says, I can do it. 6 months later, he comes back to the house. The Italian guy walks in. He goes, oh my God, this is so beautiful. This is exactly what I wanted. This is incredible. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. How are you doing it? This is so beautiful. And he looks over to the right and he goes, oh, what's that? He goes, that's your hollow statue. He goes, oh, that's my what? Your hollow statue. That's not what I asked for. He said, yeah. He said, you wanted the staircase and you wanted the carpet with the brass and you wanted the tile and the table and the flowers. And at the bottom of the staircase, you want a big hollow statue. He goes, no, that's not what I asked. He says, the hollow statue, that thing you pick it up and go to ring a ring and you go, hello, statue.
That's hilarious.
What'd you say? So I gave them exactly what they wanted. No, that's not what I wanted. I would have pinged you, pick it up, a ring, a hello, statue. That's what happened. They delivered a hollow statue. And you're welcome. Thoughts, comments, takeaways before we wrap up.